Not talking. All right. Here we are. It's UGM week, special episode. We don't usually get together this frequently. We have a new guest, Brian Brickner, here for the first time to provide his perspective on Epic along with the rest of us. So let's dive in. Who has a thought or a hot take?
Oh gosh. I mean, a lot happened. I feel like a lot of chatter is to be expected, and you have to sort of sift through the chatter to determine what's actually exciting and what you didn't know about. Uh, let's talk about Epic Rangers first. That was one of the first things that I heard about, and it's always intriguing to me as someone who left Wisconsin to move to Texas and thinks about how I used to work for Epic. I'm always astonished at how they sort of tweak rules to allow folks to either stay on or not stay on. It's obviously very purposeful. We've seen hypotheses around the strategies with Epic Rangers, but does anybody want to explain the program?
It's really like evocative of like Power Rangers for me. Maybe in Texas it's different of what it makes you think of, like Texas Walker Ranger. But like I'm thinking Power Rangers. I'm like, I'm a 22-year-old at Epic. I'm like, yeah, I'll be a Ranger.
I want to be a ranger. I'm actually getting more of the like Aragorn kind of vibe. Like this is perhaps someone from Epic that has fallen from grace, and though they were once the Dúnadan, they are now just a lonely ranger waiting for hobbits at the Prancing Pony Inn.
Somebody insert a Eye of Sauron joke here, please.
You would think that they did a lot of thinking about the name, given all these connotations. Like, wow, how cool! And no, the boots on the ground is like they came up with it on like Sunday, and that they haven't actually fleshed out. They're telling like the TLs, the team leads, and the BFFs like, don't talk about it yet. We're not ready. It's not ready. So, but what is it? What was announced? Price.
The idea is that Epic employees who are interested in leaving perhaps Madison, and that's a big deal because you have to work in Verona right outside of Madison if you want to work for Epic. But those who want to leave could potentially sign long-term contracts with Epic customers to continue supporting them. Question mark, as an Epic employee, getting paid by the health system, sort of hard to determine. But I've seen whispers, the ex-Epic Slack channel and things like that, Brendan. Well, maybe this is a way to um, allow Epic staff to sort of go forth, go elsewhere, move back to maybe where they're home from, and then leverage all of these AI tools that are going to help create configurations and do sort of system setup and things like that for Epic clients to be like ultra analysts, if you will. They're going to have the power. Maybe they are Power Rangers because they'll have the power of multiple analysts by being plugged into Epic and aware of internal happenings, but sort of full time for a particular customer. So quirky little announcement in the midst of all of the actual product announcements that they made.
Brickner, you are the freshest from Epic. Would the Ranger opportunity would it have retained you?
I don't know if they could have found a good enough position to retain me any longer, but I definitely think it's a very exciting opportunity. And I think it's really interesting how it plays with their overall AI strategy, because it seems like the underpinning of the program is basically all of the kind of grunt work that analysts do right now is going to get automated away. So these analysts are going to start to become much more strategy oriented, much more big picture oriented. And Epic is saying, hey, since this is going to become more of a specialized role, here's some more specialized folks that we've trained and that we trust on our side to do this kind of big picture thinking. Here you go and upgrade your health system even further. So not for me, but I think it's an awesome direction to see them going.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, maybe they saw just some of like the non-compete stuff. Not really, but like at least there's more opportunities for people. Certainly they upped their beef with Palantir. Like this is their forward deployed engineer, and they even did like a snarky tweet about it. So we shall see. They also said, oh, we have 320,000 people apply annually for jobs at Epic, as if it's a flex. I don't think it's a flex. I don't think it's related here. I think it's like AI has meant that the marginal cost of applying to a job is almost zero. And so every company is flooded by crap applicants. And so like, it's not like there are 320,000 people that are just tremendous applicants. They just have people that are bots that are firing off 20 applications at a go coming out of, Madison, UW or Notre Dame or wherever they're coming from. What else did we find interesting?
The Ergo announcement. Obviously, Judy spent a ton of time there. And Ergo, I think of it, or when I read about it, as an orchestration layer on top of a bunch of different existing products and potentially workflows that you could build yourself. My big question coming out of it, it seems as the only person who hasn't worked at Epic here and hasn't been a part of it at UGM, that they're going very much like, we're going to control every aspect of our customers' workflow, but Ergo sits directly on top of EHI. And so the question for me is, does this mean everything that you can do in Ergo has to be made available to third parties because of the information blocking laws? And potentially EHRs that try to become particularly insular actually erode their advantage of working with their customers on non-EHI centric workflows. And maybe there's a place for headless EHRs in our future. Anybody excited by the words I said?
I have thoughts, but Price, you're smiling.
No, I want to hear you.
You mix together Agent Factory like stuff, which is they're like build with agents that people are super excited about, and not as much. No code builders have a long and torrid history of underperforming, but AI could fix them maybe. The Ergo stuff, I think you're right. It is a rebrand of like some art stuff and other AI things they've been doing, as well as like the UpToDate partnership for clinical intelligence that's in there. So like it's a rebrand to your point, and it does beg the question, if API features of EHI Exchange is enabled for the internal bundled solutions of Art or Emmy or Penny or Ergo or you name it, do third-party applications have equal equivalent access to do the same things and have the same data? And that will be the great test of our time, both for Epic and every other EHR subject to information blocking statute.
It sounds like Ergo sits on top of like Art, Emmy, Penny, whatever you want to plug into it.
Brickner, what was your favorite from UGM?
Ooh, so definitely biased on this one, but I think the ability for Emmy to make post-discharge calls to patients is a huge step up for a lot of care coordination workflows. Like one of the single most expensive parts of our healthcare system is patients that get rehospitalized because nobody followed up with them after their first hospitalization to make sure that they're not right back in there 3 days, a month, a week later. And having the ability to automate these workflows instead of having somebody spend time on the phone again and again and again is going to really let them, one, follow up with these patients and get them the care they need faster. And it's going to free up a lot of man hours now to work on specifically the patients that they need to focus on while still not letting the other patients fall through the cracks. So I did a ton of work on like pop health and post-discharge workflows at Epic. So tiny bit biased, but I love the direction that that's going in. And Price, what was your favorite?
We've now mentioned two things in a row that sort of piqued my interest because I'm like, there's another vertical of solutions that Epic is, sort of trying to box out. And of course, Epic is going to say they're focused on their customers and providing them all the tools that they need. But, when I'm hearing about the post-discharge calls, I'm thinking about, some of the automated or AI care navigation products on the market today, hearing about like the fact that they're going to start taking payments. What was that? They're doing payment transactions now so that they can like potentially box out payment on-ramps for their customers. They are moving into autonomous coding, which was particularly surprising to me because, Brendan, we talk about how Epic is a massive system of record and they have tons and tons of experience in the operations of the space. But oftentimes, sort of aligned with your comment about them partnering with UpToDate, they're looking to outsource someone who's going to do crunching and machine learning on what codes should be on what claims. Like that's Inovalon, and that's R1. And to hear about all of that stuff starting to happen potentially within the software suite, it is just like, no wonder the FTC is coming for them.
Every article is like, where's the discussion of the FTC investigation? And I'm like, if they're under like a civil investigative discovery, I don't think they're allowed to talk about it. So it's like, what are you expecting? Oh, yes, we are under investigation. And here's what we're saying. I don't know. Like the expectations there were kind of whack. Jim is not about talking about your active litigation. Let's be clear. If Epic had that conference, I would be there in a heartbeat. So, but that and like the drama around Sumit and Sathain, wasn't expecting them to say anything about it. And I don't know why necessarily people were, but continued bundling which systems of record do. And they do it not just in healthcare. I wrote an article about property management systems and lawsuits there where they're doing it today. It happens, but Epic and any market dominant organization via antitrust laws are held to different standards of competition and anti-competition. So like, is the bundling they're doing anti-competitive? Is it just plain vertical integration that can be competitive, as we've seen through Microsoft? It's going to be potentially litigated with the FTC if they think they have a case. It'll be hard because the paradox of antitrust for systems of record is that Epic still isn't a 75 or 80% market share unless you really gerrymander it. And so can they gerrymander it? Can they get that over that market definition over the hump? It's being tried already in private cases, but the FTC has the same barriers to entry if and when they decide to use antitrust. So not in scope of UGM.
Or a flower pot takes off, just absolutely eats up, jump in.
That was where I was going to go next. First of all, the payment integration I mentioned is called Epic Savvy. Thank you, Brickner, for reminding me of that. And then eFax is another one that I'm now looking at on John Lynn's Healthcare IT Today article that they introduced another on-ramp that you could potentially box out. So these are like point solutions that Epic is starting to serve in some form or fashion. But Brandon, I'm particularly interested in your sort of macroeconomic, all of you, perspective of Epic again is like continuing to try to go down market with these smaller and smaller plant names. Like it's either poems or plants or something like that. So Brendan, what was your take on this again?
Okay, you go after market segments. You say, what is the best route to go after this segment is usually how you do it. And instead they're saying, we got Sonnet, which is like a reduced feature set. We've got Garden Plot, which is, a hosted environment where you're sharing your multi-tenant with other similar provider groups. And then you have Orchard, where it's a hosted environment that's pre-wired to all these third parties, but you're single tenant. You're not with somebody else. It's just quicker because we pre-wired a bunch of stuff like your clearinghouse or whatever. And they've tried these over the years. And like Sonnet, they first tried in like 2010, and they tried it again when I was at Epic. Apparently, she said it on stage, but then some intelligence came in from some people that like, oh no, like Sonnet was ripped out a couple years ago. So it's like, what are they talking about? Is there something new coming? Like, I don't know why Sonnet is still around. They need to stop trying to make Sonnet happen for sure. And they probably need to consolidate around the strategy that's going to help them. And I can give them Garden Plot and Orchard because maybe there's a different buyer for multi-tenant hosted versus single tenant hosted. But, disambiguate it, clean it up, go to market with what's working. And I guarantee Orchard's there's going to be tons of appetite for that business model. That's really a nice middle ground for mid-market providers in my mind.
Yeah, I guess my next question becomes, is Epic actually ready for that? You really don't compare Epic by and large from a competitive perspective. Like you can't really compare Epic and Athena Health, right? Like they're serving pretty darn different markets. Of course they compete in a pretty big Venn diagram, but like I don't know. I'm thinking of one decently sized clinic assessing Athena versus Epic, and one of them is bigger as a company. One of them has more hospital beds. Does that matter to 10 clinic practice? I have no idea. Could they fall flat and just like overprice? And not sure, but obviously they've thought about it a little bit. So excited to see where that goes.
Does the same type of person buy a Rivian who buys a Chevy, Malibu? Different market segments with different products for those market segments exist because of different needs. And like if I'm out there living with my farm and I need a truck to get stuff around. I'm in the city. Well, trucks are more popular than ever, but like there's space constrained and stuff that I have different buying inputs. And I, as a single doc practice needing software to run my business, is the pickup truck to the Chevy Malibu of inpatient care.
Don't tell me my Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom or the other way around. Yeah, what else? We briefly touched on how people were over focused on or expecting Epic to, step on stage in front of 11,000 people and start talking about all their dirty laundry. But it was notable, according to many, that Seth Howard led the what's cool or what's that segment called? Like
With the cool things ahead.
Cool things ahead. Thank you. Obviously, I was only at Epic for a year and a half. So cool things ahead was led by someone new this year because Sumit's gone. That's, a little hot gossy, a little fun, spicy, but really like don't over index on it. Like everyone said,
You can index on it a little bit in the sense that Seth Howard was one of the ones you would have rumored before. He was a known leader and that was like on stage and doing stuff in different capacities. Like he was before the big four were announced, he was in the running. Like he was on the Kalshi thing pretty high. Garrett was present. He presented, I imagine, internally a decent amount. Did some public facing things. Lipsky is well known and a leader to like the TS division or whatever. And Irv has been a public face in various capacities. But like Seth is of those four, the person who's the right intersect and like Venn diagram overlap that he would ostensibly be the choice. I think they're just trial running him a bit and seeing, does he have the charisma? Does he have the right leadership capabilities? Is my guess. Just because the criticism that Yodel has for him is that he doesn't have that it factor. Judy's got her plenty of things you could say or not say about Judy, but she's got her own personality and drive and charisma. You know, like if charisma is a unique personality set, she's got something that might be why they're seeing it. Does he instill faith in customers? Does he have the communication abilities to be doing what's ahead or cool stuff ahead? There's more credence to that than there was a couple of weeks ago, but I think they're going to, in different capacities, try out leaders and figure out a go forward plan in the months to come.
Yeah, and credit to Seth Howard. You know, from my perspective, Seth, you're deciding if you want to lead Epic. You know, you might not like it. Not everyone's as crazy as Judy, so take your time, feel it out. I hope you have fun at UGM. You know, keep it up.
Well, with that, we're running low on this extra short emergency episode. We'll see everyone for the FTC episode next week after that drops, and I'll talk to you all next week.
Have a good weekend.